Hello everyone, I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees with my friend and co-host Dylan Backer, and in today's video we're talking about the three guys coming back from the injured list, for this Dodgers series. Obviously, these three guys are, whether you feel, however you feel about Donaldson or not, or however you feel about Stanton or Kahnle, these are important pieces to this team. The Yankees definitely need the depth. They need the support. They need the depth both in the lineup and the bullpen. So, definitely nice to have these two guys back. But with that being said, before we get into everything, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. We've got you guys with daily podcasts and lots of Yankee content, so make sure you guys stick around for that. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. And I think the big guy to talk about, and, not just, figuratively, but literally, is Giancarlo Stanton, right? Giancarlo Stanton has been this team's second best hitter, third best hitter, depending on how you feel about Rizzo, over the course of the last 2 to 3 years. He's one of their most important hitters in the postseason. He's always got a flair for the dramatic. I feel like, it goes without saying that he's important. But Dylan, kind of tell me a little bit about what you think Stanton can do for this lineup, how his impact will be felt, and a little bit of how you're doing today, my man.
Right, so first off, I'm doing good. We did the live last night and my computer died on me, so I made sure this time to have it plugged in. If any of you guys were tuned in on that, you remember that. But anyways, moving on. With Stanton coming back, that's huge. Having him back in that lineup is a massive thing. We've been talking about it quite a lot, and he's just someone that you need in that lineup all the time. You need his bat, right? He's the big bopper. He's that cleanup guy. Like you said, flair for the dramatic, all that stuff. He does a lot what you want him to do. He's like the definition of a pure cleanup hitter, and you want that. And when he was gone, when he got hurt on April 15th, I think it was, you felt his absence the next game, right after. You felt that missing piece, like that, okay, we don't have that big guy that will, clean up the guys on base and drive them in. We don't have that. You're missing a big piece right there. It's just as simple as that. With him in the lineup versus him not in the lineup, massive difference. Even when Stanton isn't performing at his best, you still feel his presence in the lineup a bit. Teams are not just going to hand him a cookie and say, here, hit it. No, that's Giancarlo Stanton. He'll destroy it, so right away, it automatically makes it a tougher matchup for opposing teams when Stanton is in that lineup that already has, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, when Gleyber Torres is playing well, guys like that. So having him back is huge. I'm really happy he's coming back for this Dodgers series. I know he loves playing in LA. So, he hit that home run in the All-Star game last year. He hit that famous one back in 2015 that literally left Dodger Stadium when he was with the Marlins. And I'm pretty sure he's from LA. So he really loves playing in that ballpark. I'm glad he's coming back for this series because we definitely need him, especially after Bader just went down again and we're missing a few guys and Rizzo's been dealing with that neck issue. It's good to have Stanton back. It is good to have him back. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, one of the big things you mentioned there is, just the effect he has in the lineup, right? It deepens your lineup. Teams don't have the ability to just pitch around Judge and Rizzo. You have to be a little more selective. Gleyber's done really well in the leadoff spot, so that kind of gives you a formidable 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But with that being said, one of the big things that Stanton can also provide for you is, he can come up with a big home run. And, considering just the state of the Yankees offense right now, not that it's been bad lately, but losing Bader is going to hurt you. Some guys you expect to cool off. You don't expect IKF to keep up the month of May he's had. Same thing with guys like Willie Calhoun or Jake Bauers, right? Those guys are bound to slow down. And what you don't want to happen is that you're relying on pieces that, aren't career-long great hitters to continue to hit well, and then you get burnt by it, right? So when those guys slow down, getting Stanton and even Donaldson back, who we'll talk about in a little bit, is a lift, right? It helps you a little bit. It keeps you stable so that when those guys who are playing really well right now inevitably slow down, you'll still get some good offensive production. And, Aaron Boone made comments about how, Stanton is going to be basically just a DH for now. They'll work him into the outfield as time passes on. I think that's the right decision. And I'm really encouraged by just the fact that he came back so quickly. I thought we were going to be a lot longer without Stanton, so getting him back so soon is nice. But with that being said, on the season of 131 WRC plus, he projects kind of similarly to that number. If he can give you that, you'll certainly take it. But kind of shifting gears here towards the other position player coming back, who I just mentioned, Josh Donaldson. I feel like he's the most questionable guy of the three, right? He's the guy of the three that I don't really know what I'm gonna get, and that might sound confusing to some people who just we'll assume that he's going to be bad. But, Josh Donaldson had a really strong spring training. In his rehab assignments, it was a very similar thing, just hitting the ball really hard, really frequently. I think those are things that translate, right? Obviously production is not something that you expect from spring training to carry over to the regular season all the time. But I do believe that, the batted ball data, the ability to consistently reach high exit velocities, it doesn't matter what level you do that, right? Reaching high exit velocities is reaching high exit velocities. It's not like, a 90 mile an hour exit velocity is different in AAA than it is in major league level. Those are still well struck batted balls. So kind of looking at it from the perspective of, what we've seen as batted ball data, but then versus that 2022 season that was highly disappointing for Josh Donaldson. He only had a 97 WRC plus, it leaves you in a spot where it's like, all right, do I buy into this new batting stance thing? Do I buy into the idea that there is some sort of promise here, or is it just all kind of, is it all eyewash? Like, what is it? So, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. I'm not saying you have to decide now if Donaldson's going to be good or bad, but kind of give me some insight as to what you expect for Josh Donaldson and where you're at with Josh.
Right. So, I've not been high on Josh Donaldson since he became a Yankee. He hasn't been very good at all, really, in his Yankee tenure. It's unfortunate. The age has caught up to him. His timing is down. It happens when you get older as a baseball player, but so with that being said, like, I don't expect a whole lot out of Donaldson. I'm just hoping that he provides something, just something, because that left side of the infield has been kind of rough for the Yankees this year. DJ LeMahieu's not been performing at his best. Anthony Volpe, rookie, but he's been struggling too. So we want something out of that left side of the infield. And I'm not saying that Donaldson is like the absolute answer. No, I'm just hoping that while he's up here, he can show something. He can show that he's still capable of being a highly productive baseball player. Because quite frankly, his time could be up soon. I don't think the Yankees are going to mess around with this as much as they might have with the other guys. Like, I don't think, we have third baseman on the roster. We don't have, an issue there. LeMahieu plays third. You could maybe call Peraza and slot someone to third, so we have options. And of course, Cabrera, too, when he figures things out and comes back up here, he can play third as well. So we have options, so I don't think they're going to necessarily mess around with Donaldson here. If Donaldson isn't performing within a few weeks of him returning, something could change. They might have to make a roster move regarding him. Who knows what they're going to have to do. But with that being said, I'm not expecting anything crazy out of Donaldson. I'm just going to hold out hope that he actually, can play at a high level of production, because quite frankly, we need that right now. We haven't been having a lot. Like I said, we don't have a lot of production on that left side of the infield whatsoever. You're going to get Donaldson's glove. You're going to get that. He's still going to be a plus defender. It's his bat you worry about. We got him to be a middle of the order bat. We didn't get him to specifically play Gold Glove defense. We got him for that too, the bat. So we need him to perform at a high level. And do I expect him to perform at a crazy high level? No, I don't. I just want him to be productive, in some facet. Be productive in some facet, because the first 5 games of the season, it wasn't like he was productive. He was hitting like 125, I think, and he had just 1 home run. So yeah, it's a small sample size, but there was nothing in those first 5 games that gave me necessarily any encouragement. You know what I mean? So let's just hope that when he comes back, he can figure some things out, use those adjustments that he made in spring training, and hopefully it translates to the big league roster. What do you think about that?
Yeah, one of the big things that I think is really important for Josh Donaldson is to get off to a good start, right? I think that, he's not going to have a lot of time to continue to play at the major league level and get run, especially considering that, Oswald Peraza's torn up AAA. There's a lot of, and I'm one of those people who believe that he should be on the major league team. It's going to be really hard for the Yankees to justify playing Josh Donaldson if he plays poorly in the first month of his return. So for him, he's got to get off to a good start. He can't get off to an Aaron Hicks type start or an IKF type start. It's just not going to work, right? Fortunately for him, not for the Yankees, of course, but for him, DJ LeMahieu has not played so well offensively. So, there is that third base spot for him to win, right? He can outright win that job right now. But, it's going to, again, come down to having a really good start, playing really well, staying consistent at the plates, just giving the Yankees good results. We're not talking about, returning to MVP form, but if you can give them a 105 to 110 WRC plus, some power, the defense he had last year, that's a really strong third baseman, and that'll be the Yankees. I mean, honestly, that might be the Yankees starting third baseman in the postseason if he can do that. So is it too unreasonable to ask for that? You're basically asking for him to be 10% better offensively than he was last year, or, give or take a couple of points here or there. Is that a lot to ask for? I don't think so. Does it mean it's going to happen? No, right? So it's one of those things where, again, high variance guy, just one of those dudes where, it's either he's going to hit or he's not, and he's going to either be on this team in a month or he's not. Like, I think it's that extreme here. But with that being said, the last guy that, we haven't seen him on a Yankees uniform in a while, right? It's not like he's a guy coming back from injury that we saw last year. Tommy Kahnle, right? Tommy Kahnle, old friend, of course, part of that 2017, 2018, 2019, roster, briefly part of the 2020 team before getting hurt. But he's someone who he has a new sinker now. We'd been kind of, hearing a lot about his return with the Yankees and kind of look at this bullpen. Not that the bullpen's pitched poorly, but they've asked certain guys to perform in spots that they're not necessarily equipped to perform in, whether it's Albert Abreu with bases loaded against the Rays where he gives up that grand slam to Taylor Walls, or the situation where you have to bring in Jimmy Cordero when Nestor Cortez gives up that porch job to Adam Frazier, right? These are not situations you necessarily want to bring those guys into, but because of the bullpen injuries, you had to. So looking at Tommy Kahnle here, I think he's a bigger addition to this team than people give it credit for. I think it's kind of like the Harrison Bader situation where people looked at him and were like, it's just Harrison Bader. It's not like he's going to do much, but considering the depth of this bullpen and just how many injuries they have, I think he's really important to this bullpen. What do you think about that? And what do you think Tommy Kahnle can provide for this team?
Right, so, like you said, Tommy Kahnle, old friend, really good pitcher for us back in like 2018. I really loved him. I'm glad he's back. We signed that 2-year deal in the offseason. My first worry was, of course, his health, because he hasn't really pitched a whole lot in the past 3 years. I think he pitched like 12 innings with the Dodgers, but that was about it over these past few years. Then, of course, he got hurt in spring training, and I was like, oh, man, did we really sign up another contract to waste another, pitcher and stuff like that? But thankfully, he's back now, and it's still early June, so we didn't miss too much of him. And thankfully, the bullpen has pitched well, despite his absence. But when he comes back, you're going to feel it right away, because he's a guy, he's a veteran. He's a guy who's beloved in that clubhouse. The guys love Tommy Kahnle. They love his energy. They love what he provides. And he's just a good pitcher. And with that being said, I think you'll automatically see him start getting into high leverage spots pretty quickly. Do I think he'll be pitching the 8th inning tonight? No, I don't think so. But I feel like, pretty quickly you'll start seeing him get like 7th inning, 8th inning type stuff. Tonight, if he pitches tonight, he'll probably get more like the 6th inning or something like that. He'll be like one of the first guys out there in the bullpen. But when it gets down the road and he gets, ramped up again, I could see him getting in high leverage spots relatively quickly, especially because we are missing a lot of guys right now. We're missing Loaiska, we're missing Lou Trevino, Scott F. Ross, all those guys. There's so many of them that are hurt. And the fact that we have Kahnle back, you got to take advantage of having him, because he has the capability to be like a good setup guy. And that's what I envision the Yankees doing once he kind of fully ramps himself back up. He had some good, he was doing good in AAA from what I've seen during his rehab, so I'm hoping that it translates over here back to the big leagues, which I expect it to do. Tommy Kahnle is a good reliever. I don't expect him, excuse me, to just get lit up when he comes back. I just, hope that he does what I expect him to do, and that's just pitch well, do your job, be a good setup guy, and just go out there and get it done. That's all I really expect out of Kahnle. I don't have like super high expectations for him. I'm just excited to see him back. Really, that's what I'm more excited about. And that's not a discredit to the guys that we've had pitching this season out of the bullpen, because some of them have done their job. Jimmy Cordero's been solid this year. Ryan Weber came up and he's been solid this year. But there are certain guys that you also look at and you go, okay, why are they still in this bullpen? Such as like Albert Abreu, why are they still in that bullpen? Right? It's refreshing to see a veteran arm, a proven arm, an established arm in Tommy Kahnle. And I don't know, they sent down Crook for Kahnle, so obviously that means Abreu's still going to be up here. Unfortunately for me, I don't want to see Abreu up here still. But with that being said, I do expect Abreu's high leverage spots to decrease significantly, and Kahnle's going to kind of take that over. That's why another reason I think Kahnle will get those spots relatively quickly, because they need to kind of another setup guy, because mostly in that bullpen it's been King, Peralta, and Holmes, but then the rest of the guys are kind of just whenever they're available pretty much. And there are certain spots, like you said before, that you don't want to throw guys out there in a high leverage spot, but you don't have a choice because your bullpen is so thin. So when Kahnle comes back, which is tonight, you will feel it right away, and you'll feel the depth of the bullpen. And, the bullpen's pitched great this season. I think they have the best bullpen ERA in baseball. So it just adds more to it. You're adding another good pitcher to an already good bullpen. So it's a big win here, and I'm just excited to see him back. What do you think?
Yeah, end of the day, I think the big thing here is just getting more depth and having more options in big game situations or in big spots late in games, and not having to overuse your bullpen. Look, Clay Holmes has pitched really well as of late. You don't want to overuse him. Same situation with guys like Wandy Peralta, Michael King. Ron Marnacchio's really struggled, so you kind of want to stay away from him a little bit, maybe work him into a lower leverage role and get him back to where he should be. But the Yankees have been having to use Wandy, King, and Holmes in almost any situation where they're up 3, or up 2 or up 1, because quite frankly, the starters haven't been going deep enough into games. So, that's an issue that is independent of, kind of what we're talking about here, but having more bullpen depth, that definitely allows you to bridge those gaps. And as you mentioned, just kind of get to keep Ryan Weber in more of a long relief role and not, hey, here's a 3-run lead in the top of the bottom of the 10th. Please close this game because we have no one else. So that's really the reality of it. And going forward, I think it'll make an impact. And he's a high energy guy too, which I think will help. That bullpen and that clubhouse, especially in the grind of a 162 game season. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know what you guys think about these 3 guys returning. I personally think they're going to make a positive impact. We'll have to wait and see as to what that positive impact looks like. But again, we'll wait and see on that front. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have been great with the support lately. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can check out the audio version of this podcast on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. If you guys enjoy our content, you guys can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or of course this YouTube page. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.